members are present. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Aidan Wynn, after which Libby Flegel will give opening remarks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, which art in heaven, as we come before Thee, preparation for this city council meeting, we are grateful, Father, for those mayor and council and staff that serve us and make this city a pleasant place to live. We pray, Father, that this night, that the things that will be discussed with all good things in mind, and the laws and the ordinances and the citizens, and pray that any comments that are made will be made in a nice and gentle way. We pray for those serving in our military. Bless them and their families. And we also are grateful, Father, for the things that Thou hast blessed us with. And we say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Libby. By way of information, we recognized Libby earlier this evening with a retirement. She has volunteered for the city for 21 years, serving in the 22 years. She's pointing that out to me, mostly with our neighborhood advisory board and as our chair. And we really appreciate the service that she's given.
And there's still plenty of cookies, if anybody wants one.
Feel free to just come up and help yourself. Okay, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there's not.
Okay, I'll take a motion on the agenda.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve the agenda as written.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Ben and a second by Diana. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we'll have our open session now. If any of you have an item to discuss that's not on the agenda or is not a public hearing item, please come up and state your name. Okay. Seeing that there's none, I think, Mark, you had one item you wanted to discuss?
Mark Besant, 1192 East, 200 South, here in beautiful Pleasant Grove, the Strawberry City. I just wanted to come this evening and say thank you, first of all, to the elected officials that will be finishing their terms of office here in just a little bit. Appreciate your service. Second thing is, this past month, received my property tax bill, wrote out a check for my property taxes. I just wanted to say that I think that the money that I spent for property taxes is some of the best money I ever spent. When I think of the modest amount that went to Pleasant Grove City, even though the check was made out to Utah County Treasurer, I think of the marvelous services that I receive for that modest amount of money. Police 24/7, fire protection 24/7. I realize, again, there are some other fees that go in and gas taxes and things like that. But the bulk of the budget and the sales tax, but the bulk of the budget comes from that property tax. I think of our snow removal. I think of the roads that we enjoy in Pleasant Grove. I think of the lovely parks that are everywhere throughout the community we can go to and visit. Think of our lovely cemetery where many of my ancestors are buried. I think of the lovely legal help that we have, those that administer the affairs of the community, our finance director. I think of our engineering that's paid for lovely engineer people that are watching out in community development to make sure zoning, buildings are put up in a good fashion, that they're safe for the people that are joining us in the community. The lovely sidewalks that are everywhere present now that I never enjoyed as a child. Also, another bill that I receive each month is our city utility bill. And again, I just want to say thank you for the wonderful services. Every morning when I get up and throughout the day and evening or whatever time, I can turn on the water. I always have beautiful, clean water to enjoy. And whenever we pull the plug in the tub or whatever else, put the washing in the washer, I don't have to worry about where that water's going. There's somebody that's taking care of all of that. And I can remember the day when some sewer plants, treatment plants, water treatment plants, shut off at night and poured open sewage into Utah Lake. I was not just a child when that kind of thing happened, and then now the water that goes into that lake is technically drinkable. I think of the other lovely things that I receive when I go down to solid waste. Somebody's taking care of that every day down there. When I want to get some mulch or whatever, somebody's taking care of all of that. Well, my time's expired. I could go on for quite a while to say thank you for the wonderful, again, contribution and services that I receive for these very modest sums of money that I pay and have the opportunity. People will come to me and say, Mark, how are you doing today, or what are you doing for the holidays? I tell them every day in Pleasant Grove's a holiday. It's a wonderful thing and stuff. To just live in this wonderful community with so many wonderful people, with so many wonderful services. I'm just thrilled that some of my grandchildren have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the open session. Any comments on the consent items? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's consent items. Second.
We have a motion by Eric and a second by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Kent, is he here?
He's not here, Mayor.
Okay.
And if you want, I can give you a little background on this.
I think I can give you some background.
All right, go ahead.
I know this guy. Kent's been serving for us and with us at Fox Hollow for quite some time. For a period of time, he was a volunteer, and he helped with their finances during the construction of the remodel and the clubhouse. Kent was instrumental in helping to make sure that it was built on time and came in with quality. And he's been serving on the board of directors now for, I think, 2 terms, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, and he's being considered as chairman. That's what we have in
Okay.
front of us tonight.
And then the chairman rotates, and with the chairman, I believe also the finance responsibility,
The legal.
the legal responsibility rotates. So this is our opportunity. And so what we need to do is approve Kent as the Fox Hollow Board Chair. So I will entertain a motion to that effect.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for approval of appointment of Kent Wells as the Fox Hollow Board Chairman.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Kim, you have a presentation for us? Thank you.
So, hello everyone. I'm Kimberly Schroppel, the victim advocate for Pleasant Grove City. I will not take much of your time. I am required to present to council twice in the year through my grant. So I know it was kind of close together. Next year it won't be. But I kind of had to ponder what I wanted to talk about today due to being here just about 8 weeks ago. And I decided, statistics are always good at the end of the year. I always have the heavy statistics, so I apologize for that. The other thing I wanted to focus on today was some people that I am incredibly appreciative for. I'm appreciative for all of my officers, but I work very closely with my detectives on the very heavy cases. And I before I was the victim advocate, I don't think I realized what they did. I knew we had detectives you watch on, CSI or whatever the TV show is. And I knew we had, detectives, and I knew we had patrol officers, and I really didn't realize, I knew when I dispatched, I sent patrol out, and I knew the things that they had to do and see. I didn't realize what my detectives had to do and see. And so I'm kind of here today to kind of give some statistics and a few props to some people that give some great value to our city. And I kind of put my thoughts on paper. I'll try not to just read them, but our detectives division is it is operated under the supervision of Lieutenant Britt Smith. He is a fabulous boss. He does a great job with those boys, and he is very thorough in helping them and investigating. When speaking with him today, I asked him, I said, just tell me what you think detectives is. What a duh question to ask a lieutenant over detectives. But one thing that he said, and I'm going to quote him, he graciously gave props immediately to our patrol division, who is run under Joshua Motzinger, Lieutenant Joshua Motzinger. Lieutenant Smith, I apologize, said, patrol does a stellar job investigating the crimes to their max ability. They have such a high call volume that they do not have the luxury to take the time following through on every single case. That's when it's referred to our detectives who have the luxury of taking a little bit more of that time. And I was impressed with what he said, and then we kind of chatted a little bit about what detectives do. And I know that they sift through every case, especially the serious ones, and I know they sift through it with a fine-tooth comb. Just this year, we have had in the sexual assault categories or any crime regarding a sexual crime, including lewdness, rape, porn distribution, different things like that. We have had a total of 60 right now. DCFS referrals, we have had 148. Domestic violence, family problems, custodial interference, we have had 363. That is at least one a day if you look at the days of the year. Our detectives all go out on attended and unattended deaths. We've had 17. Sometimes there's more. This year we haven't had quite as many, but we've had some heavy ones. So they go out and they investigate all of that with the medical examiner. These cases that I'm referring to are only the cases that I work closely with the detectives on. I go out on these deaths with them a lot of times. I read through all of the caseloads, so I know what they do, but they also are always dealing with burglaries, thefts, just, any kind of crime that has to do with something that they need to do a more thorough investigation on. I know that the hardest crimes for these guys to see are ones that deal with our most innocent, which is our children and our youth. And it is heartbreaking. I read things that I never fathomed were real cases. So a child victim will be referred to the Children's Justice Center for interview. A lot of times that interview is the child gets to choose who interviews them, and a lot of times that becomes my detective. And they have special training they go to. We all have to have special training in the kind of job that we do, but they have very good training in forensic interviewing and knowing how to speak to children. I'm often impressed when I'm reading an interview or looking into the case a little deeper or talking to a victim's parent where they're saying, your detective was amazing, he was fantastic. So one of the hardest things in my job and the detectives' jobs is that we get so invested in a case. We end up speaking with victims over and over and over again. And sometimes, for the detectives especially, it's very frustrating when they know something has happened and they can't prove it in the justice system. And so it will go to court and it won't maybe happen to fruition of what they would like. But it is very difficult for them to see and know something has happened, but it's not able to be prosecuted the way that it needs. And it's not the prosecution or the justice system's fault. A lot of times it's, evidence and things like that. So I can tell you, though, from personal experience, just watching that our detectives all do the absolute best job that they can. They look at every case. They don't care who it is. They're going to do the best job that they can for every single person, no matter who it is, and no matter how long the case has been since it's been, if somebody comes later, 4 years later, and says, I have something I need to report, they will still take that case and look through it with a fine-tooth comb. I read the cases that they have to see and sift through. And sometimes I didn't realize that they had to see sometimes hundreds and thousands of images and things that I read about, but they have to visually look and screen all of these things. It can be statements, it can be it's always on a serious crime, but it can be statements that they're reading over and over, and it can be, footage, or it can be messages or different things that they have to look through a lot. And I know that sometimes it's really difficult for me to fathom what I'm reading, but they have to actually see it. So the other day I was walking in the parking lot, I saw a couple of my detectives walking in, and it was a heavy day. And I went up to them and I just said, hey, I gotta tell you guys something. And they're always like, she talks too much. But I'm like, okay, just shush, listen to me. And I just said, I just want to thank you guys. It's been a heavy day, and I know what you've had to see. And they were like, you're welcome. And I know that as citizens, we don't know, or we don't think ahead that our detectives are going through the things they are, having to see the things that they do. So my eyes were completely opened in my new job as a victim advocate a year ago. I remember hearing one officer say to me once, and it was a very difficult day for all of us. It was a very, very hard case. And it's one that pretty much took me to my knees. And I remember him stating that sometimes the belt is just a little heavier to wear. And it's true. I don't wear that belt, but they do. And it was a heavy day. And one thing that when we talk about why we do the job we do, I'm going to tell you a quick story and then I'm going to be done. A couple of weeks ago, I was able to go to a hearing for a child, and this child got a protective order, and it was granted until the child was 18. And I can't tell you the tears and the smile and the joy that was on that child's face. So, sorry, I'm not usually emotional, but he was so happy. The entire room was in tears. And it was a beautiful thing. It was sad that it had to happen, but it was a beautiful experience, seeing this child get justice served. And I can tell you that every one of my guys, every one of my officers, this is why they do the job that they do, to see justice served, to see our community protected, watched over, and looked out for. The level of service that the patrol and the detectives give to our community, I cannot tell you the efforts and the time and effort that they put into each and every case. I guarantee it. I see it. They uphold the standards that they were sworn to, even at difficult times. And I just want to say I'm thankful for them every day. I'm grateful I get to work with such great men, and that I get to see these men and women on a daily basis and watch what they do. I'm really grateful. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kim. Is Qualtrics here? Okay.
Sorry, I feel like clapping for Kim. Because I think we all share the same, we can't share the same feelings because we don't do the position that you do, but, we know how amazing our police department is and what I just can't imagine, so thank you.
Thank you.
So I do have a presentation. If it's going to take a few minutes to set up, then I can just go without it and email it to you later.
Okay, that'd be fine.
That works, okay. So I appreciate you all having me. Try not to take too much of your time. It looks like you have a pretty full docket tonight. So my colleague Chase Winder and I work with Qualtrics, specifically within state and local government in the state of Utah. I'm actually from a small town in Ohio, so it's kind of fun for me to come back to these meetings and get that feel again. I live in Salt Lake now, so it's a little different, but it's always kind of fun and nostalgic for me to come back and see, how these operate and remember that.
Well, good, you picked a good night.
Absolutely, yeah. So essentially what we've been working on with a lot of these cities and counties in the area is data collection and analysis, utilizing that to close the gap between the experience of citizens and the work that your employees and you yourselves are doing. And that manifests itself in a lot of ways. Just recently we began working with the city of Orem. They're going to be using it. They're collecting data on the customer. So basically, the citizen as a customer with their public works department, with their DMV, with any other city organization that they have some kind of transaction with. They're going back and doing research on that customer's experience. Were their needs met? Were they connected to the right services? How was this? And then being able to dashboard that information so they can see it on kind of a broader scale and see, where can they improve and how can this be done? How are the departments that are doing this very well? How can other departments learn from that, essentially? And so that's kind of the gap that we aim to close. City of Provo's a large client of ours as well. Mayor Curtis has been a big fan of ours. He's been to the office to shoot hoops a couple times. But kind of a cool example with them, they have in their city council what they call the Fab Five. It's the same 5 people that show up a lot and will tend to, cause a ruckus over certain issues that come up. Most notably recently was last year, the year before, they were discussing how do they basically implement a small raise in taxes so they can fund basically retrofitting their city buildings with solar panels. And this group was showing up. They were opposing everything, but eventually the motion passed in city council. Of course, they have a mayor's strong form of government, and it was weighing heavily on Mayor Curtis whether or not he should use his veto, shut this down so that they won't have to go through this and, anger their citizens. Utilizing Qualtrics, though, through emails, text messages, their website, and social media, was able to put out a quick survey, and within 12 hours overnight, collect feedback from over 2,500 different households to figure out that the silent majority actually is either they have no opinion or they're very in support of kind of going a little bit more green with the solar panels. And we have dozens of examples like that, connecting people with services in county health departments, doing epidemiology on the opioid epidemics, connecting people, okay, you've been in jail on the county level with their prisons. Now you're out and you're back in 6 months later. What's going on in between? It's the same thing, whether they're a customer for public works or in this type of organization, in this type of work, there's something happening in that gap that needs to be closed so that they can solve different issues, whether it be health crises or recidivism rates in the prisons, or much more simply in some cities, it could just be how do we message more effectively to manage our growth and make our city as attractive as possible so we can grow and support our businesses. And being able to connect with them on multiple different levels and utilize that information to dashboard it, report within city council, within department heads. So maybe within your role in victims, using that to follow up after the resolution of some of these to see how the people that you're serving are doing, and connecting them to maybe additional services within health departments or on the county level. So it kind of expands your reach and allows for two-way communication. So at this point, I know it's kind of like drinking out of a fire hose, a lot of
So
information.
do you do web-based or telephone type of polling of the customer?
It is primarily cloud-based, so through websites, emails, text messages, and occasionally in-person interactions with an offline application that we have. So if you send people out to canvas neighborhoods with tablets, they can interact with people face-to-face and record answers.
So how do we know that we're reaching some people that don't favor getting online to get their information?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we've encountered with a lot of the rural cities and counties that we work with, and especially in Utah, down south, that comes up. We work with Garden City up north. It's a city of 500 people. But being able to connect with them through a lot of different ways. So, a lot of times we'll work with Parks and Rec departments that have a lot of programs they want to connect people to. When you're at a park or at a park facility, you're not necessarily checking out the Parks and Recreation side of the website, or even maybe Pleasant Grove's website, but you could put up flyers with QR codes so they can scan it, a quick link for them to type in to go and visit and learn more about these services. And my particular favorite is an example of basically texting, Pleasant Grove to a 6-digit number, and that's going to automatically follow up with them with another text that will have a link to a form where they can enroll themselves to give more feedback to the city, to the service. So putting up flyers in each department, having one, maybe a quick link at the top of every agenda for these meetings is kind of a good way to do that.
Imagine you have some kind of fee structure for what you do.
We do, and we have kind of a unique pricing structure for Utah. Obviously, this is our home state, so a lot of the cities and counties here, we've worked out kind of a
Good, it's free then. Thank you.
Then you know you
Hey,
can.
can we make sure the recorder doesn't get that down? Yeah. No, so I believe when we were speaking with Ben about this, we had talked about 10 to 15,000 for a yearly license. That's based on the number of citizens and the number of additional features, like some more complex but automated analysis features. So I think kind of a good next step would be to put together a couple different options to send to you for review, maybe in another meeting.
So realistically, some of us are not going to be here next time. I think where we are right now, if the rest of the council is interested, I think what we'll do is refer you to work with staff.
Okay.
And maybe if they feel so inclined, bring it back so that new council and mayor have an opportunity to look into it. What do the rest of you?
So do you guys interact with like phone, like app?
Like
type?
calling in or like smartphone?
Smartphone, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a major part of it, especially reaching. I work with a lot of organizations to do at-risk youth assessments and connecting them with services they need and follow-ups with that. Obviously, that demographic is big on texting. It's a great way to reach them. So that's something really easily done. It's in the cloud-based software. So you just go to Qualtrics.com, you log in, you create your survey, or better yet, you download it from our survey library. So a lot of cities are doing the same kind of projects that you all are working with. A lot of them are struggling with some of the same issues, and so being able to connect with them, figure out what's working, what's not, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Putting that in, adding your logo so the respondent and the participant in these surveys and these programs knows where their information is going, and then you click a button and it's sent to their phone as long as you have their number.
It hits all the platforms, social media platforms, and
Yes, yep, automatically integrated with Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, just about anything you can need.
And what was your name again?
My name's Connor Rowe. I can leave you all with a few business cards as
Okay,
well.
that would be great. And so are you, is Qualtrics just west of Geneva down here in the new Vineyard area, or where are you located at?
We're in Provo. We're on
Provo, okay.
River Park, kind of
Okay.
near the little shopping mall there.
Okay,
Vivint, yep,
Okay.
they're our neighbors.
awesome. It's definitely something I would like more information on heading into this next year. So if you can follow up with the email with the
Absolutely.
official stats and get your information to Scott, I'd be interested in learning more.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to talk with individual staff and go through kind of a quick demo on more specific. This was kind of a broad, how a city, in any capacity might use this, but I'm happy to speak with you all
If
individually.
you just give me your card, what we'll do is we'll meet with them, we'll evaluate it as staff. I think we'll bring it back at our retreat. We'll have a full-fledged discussion, we'll have what the options are on pricing, so we know what you have in front of you, and that we can coincide it with budget time, and if we choose to do it, that it could work out well that way. So if you can just leave me your card, and then you and I will
Excellent.
take it from there.
Thank you, Connor.
Anything else I
Appreciate
can
it.
answer for you all?
Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, item 9A is a public hearing to consider for adoption an ordinance 2017-40 of the Pleasant Grove City Council to permanently abandon a section of 100 South Street right-of-way from approximately 100 East to 40 East, which is an area of land approximately 18,180 square feet, or .42 acres, and providing for an effective date. So this is between the police station and the new fire station,
Correct.
or the new police station.
The old police station and the new police
Courts,
station.
police station, and the existing fire, police station. So up on the board, you can see here, this is the parcel map from the county. Currently, we have, here's the police station, City Hall. Here's the old fire station and community development building. There's currently a right-of-way that exists on First South between Main Street and First East. And the city owns the property here, and the overall park property with the old rec center and that property.
Where's the quilt shop?
It's
Oh,
right
right
here.
there, okay.
So with the, let me pull this other one up on the screen. With the new proposal for the public safety building, The current proposal for the alignment of the road would be to continue to have access through. I know at one point in the future, probably a couple years ago, we talked about closing off First East altogether, not providing an access through, and then creating more of a bigger parking lot there to accommodate police, community development, and that concept. With the new proposed public safety building, we've kind of went away from closing it off and leaving it as an access so that people can still access off of First East and come through more into a parking lot fill. And so we felt that the best thing to do, because we were going to use that more as a parking lot with some diagonal parking on that, is the best thing to do would be to vacate that right-of-way for that section that's coming through the city. Now, from the business here on the north side of the road, our property line comes essentially through here. This would still be remaining as right-of-way so that they have adequate frontage and parking along that right-of-way. It would only be the section from where it comes into the current city property all the way to First East. And so that's what you have before you tonight, is the proposal to vacate this 18,000 square foot of right-of-way. It's about 60 foot wide and just comes across our property, and that way it can be utilized more for a parking area. There also is a plat, a one-lot plat, that actually comes and combines all of our parcels together, so it becomes kind of one PG downtown lot, rather than having multiple lots for each one of the buildings.
Where it's been a road, is there any concern about, I don't know, vested rights of access for people that are using that?
As far as the public,
Give you an example. BYU shuts off their roads once a year just to establish that these are not public roads, they're private. And effectively, this has been a road. We're now looking at making it just an access, right, for parking to come in and out. You can still go through, but it's been a road. So do our neighbors or anybody have rights because it's been a road?
So the purpose of the public hearing is to take public input on the proposal to vacate the road. So if people have concerns, they can come and voice those concerns. The city owns the right-of-way, even though it's been used as a public street. So the council has the authority to close that and vacate it at any time you feel it meets the qualifications to
Okay.
do so.
So there's no implied rights by another party to
No.
make use of that?
No.
Okay, thank you.
with regards to utility right-of-way as well, the franchise agreement is still in place for that, so any utilities that exist in that would still operate under our current franchise agreement for their utility. So that should be held in place as well, so.
Any questions for Marty? Okay, let's go ahead and open it up for the public. If any of you have comments or questions on this, please come up and state your name. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back up here. Any further discussion?
Marty, do you have any idea how broad the notice dissemination was for this particular item? Did we talk to businesses along Main Street, for example?
So it was noticed within 300 feet of the vacated area, so they should have received a notice as well. It was posted, I think it goes through a 4-week noticing process because it is a road vacation. So we followed all those standard procedures for that.
Thanks.
You think that would be pretty tight as a two-way there or not?
It will be a little bit tight. We've requested that they put in at least a standard drive aisle, which is 24 feet with their, and we've got direction of traffic can go both directions. So we feel it's adequate. It's typical parking lot type style, so you'll be coming into the parking lot and then be able to use those diagonal parking stalls as you pull in. So we feel it's adequate for what it's meant to do, so.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion, Mayor, Council, that we, let's see, let me make sure I read it right here. That we adopt an ordinance, 2017-48 of the Pleasant Grove City Council to permanently abandon a section of 100 South Street right-of-way from approximately 100 East to 40 East, which is an area of land of approximately 18,180 square feet or .242 acres, and providing for an effective date.
Second?
We have a motion by Ben and a second by Eric. By voice, Lynn?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. You're leaving before your talks. Oh, we have cookies.
Take a cookie on your way out, kids.
Okay, number 10A is a continued item to consider for approval a one-lot final subdivision plat called Valley Grove Business Park, Plat D, on property located at approximately 1064 South, is that right? South North County Boulevard? Yeah. In the interchange subdistrict of the Grove Zone. Daniel Thomas is the applicant.
Ah, look at me. Look at this. Give me 1 second, Mayor. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Need Marty to help you? Yes, please.
Good man, call for help. I think that parking, that extra parking, that's going to do a lot of good. Slowing down the traffic, yeah. Slowing down the traffic without shutting it completely off. And it'll make the continuity between the buildings a lot, well, not a lot, but it'll provide continuity, more continuity along the street there.
Yeah, we agree, as we were talking through the options, to shut
was-
it all the way
that was
down
good.
was going to be problematic when it was all said and done.
Does that create additional parking for, say, the restaurant or anyone else there?
They could. They could, I mean, they can park there in front of the building and walk down to the restaurant.
Can they have diagonal parking along that north side
On the remaining public
Yeah.
thing? Well, there's already some for the park there.
and the south
on the-
side?
on
Not in
the-
front of Kate's Quilts, though, there's not.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
So I wonder
Yeah,
if that,
what I'm
if that
asking,
could-
yes,
Oh,
what
yeah,
I'm asking is
yeah.
like Kate's Quilts and Cocolitos, could they have angled parking there, or does that create some kind of
I was going to
confusion?
say, I bet that's a problem with the drive aisle.
The
I'm
drive
not
aisle,
su- Because
okay.
we have diagonal parking on the other side. If you do it on the north side as well, I think you'd lose your 24 feet, your drive aisle.
Wonder
But
if we
I'm
could
not
fig-
the engineer.
I wonder-
Well,
I wonder if we could get that
Neither
engineer to
are we,
figure out
right?
if it would work.
Engineer's busy. He's working on the computer.
Well, that's
right
the
now.
IT guy.
He's IT.
So you got an engineer doing IT, and you've got an attorney doing engineering work. So
yeah, we don't get to see it on this particular one, but on that one that he had up there, it shows the parking. That might be nice.
It is.
To have additional,
Additional parking spots.
yeah,
we
additional
need.
parking all the way along there,
Yeah.
if possible. Did we stall long enough? No problem.
Sorry about that, Mayor. Looks
No
like,
problem.
In front of Kate's Quilts.
looks like Marty's going to get a big Christmas present from me now.
Very good.
All right, Mayor, so, Mayor, Council, this item is for, if you guys allow me, I'd like to talk to you guys about item A and B at the same time. Just got to make sure we make two separate motions. But this is for a plat, and at the same time for a site plan. Obviously, the site plan will be located where that plat is being created at this point. The applicant is Daniel Thomas. This is in the Grove Zone, in the interchange sub-district, and we're creating a new plat that has one lot and one parcel. Now, this site plan, or this new building that is proposed, will be located in that lot. We're talking about approximately 171,000 square feet of new office space in the city. This is a great project because he shows how much we're growing at this point. Pointer? Oh my gosh, yes.
Daniel, is this the one you kind of mentioned at the North County Summit?
Yes.
Really
so
cool.
This is version number 2. Who say second parts are not that good? I mean, this is also a 6-story building, and it's a fabulous building. We'll take a look at it. So this is the area where the plat is located. All this will remain as a parcel, and we're creating this new lot right here. That's the zoning map, and we can take a look at the aerial part. So this is the plat, and that's what we are creating at this point. The entire plat is almost 25 acres. The parcel is 18 acres, and the lot by itself is 6.6, almost about 7 acres. This is the site plan.
This building right here is a 6-story building. I'll show you later how it's gonna look. This project already went to Planning Commission and also to the Design Review Board. In regards to the requirements for architect, landscape, materials, it exceeds the requirements established on the ordinance. Here's the aerial view of how the landscape will look, and I think they did a good job with that. One thing to mention is they provided the setbacks required. They did something that is called averaging, so they don't need any reductions on the setbacks. They met the requirements. Here's the elevations of the buildings, and here's the other side. That's how the building is going to look. Like I say, it mimics a little bit the building that is already in construction, and this will be the final product that we will have in the city. So like I mentioned before, the plat as well as the site plan, both items went to Planning Commission already, and they received a unanimously recommendation of approval. One condition that I would like to add that is not in the staff report, I apologize for that, is for the plat. The condition is that all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met, including an agreement with regards to stormwater easements and facilities needed across the proposed development area. So it looks like we're still working on
And you're
those.
aware of that?
Yeah. That's a requirement I got from the engineering department today. So that's the requirement for this, for the site plan.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I have.
So the first item is the lot, the approval
plat.
for the one lot final plat, subdivision plat. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then we'll vote on the site plan.
Correct.
So do we have any questions for Daniel?
Daniel? I do. Maybe we can get Connor back in the room, get Qualtrics down here in that building. What do you think? Oh, yeah? Okay.
How does this compare in size to the one that you've put out on by the freeway, please?
It's the same height, almost exactly the same height, 6 stories. The floor plate is a little bit smaller, so it's Grove Tower is 195,000 square feet. This is 172,000 square
What
feet.
was the term we used? Is it sexy? Is that?
Sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a technical term.
It is.
It
It is. I think Daniel's written it into the zone.
No,
so.
no, there's no rounded curves on that one.
Well, I'm not.
There is,
I'm
there
just
is.
asking. Okay, any questions?
Do we have any, is this just spec, or do you have any?
Yeah. So
Yes, you have, or no, it's spec.
Yes, it is spec. So we are about 60% leased in Grove Tower, and our mantra is always just to stay ahead of the market and keep attracting businesses. And so the hope is that we'll be able to put this up. And
This is fantastic, really,
Oh,
Daniel.
This is amazing.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have, while you're there, and while we're having some fun, could you go back to the
Oh, Diana, if this is fun.
So much fun. I just thought with your little pointer, if you just want to tell us about what's going on on any of the other places that you know of
Yeah.
for sure that you can announce, just for those people that are here.
You mean the other blank spaces that are on them?
I know that there's thoughts that are happening. That's good.
Should we stop here? Okay. So this building is going right here. Grove Tower, existing. We're pretty much leased, 100% leased here. We got the 2 retail buildings that are under construction. Starbucks, we're right at the finish line with Starbucks. Jersey Mike's, a Thai restaurant. Lot of interest from other food users, but they're waiting for Starbucks and Jersey Mike's to take up the drive-throughs before they fall in line and where they'll be. So that's starting to lease up. So R&R here. They've got some major deadlines to meet in the next week that will kind of reaffirm what's going on there. And then they're also working on their headquarters, campus, office building, and some more restaurants there. So there's, hopefully, sometime next year, this interchange will be loaded with some good food, which a lot of people have been asking for. And then right here, we are under contract with Sequoia Development for another hotel. And so.
Is this where the pastor says, "Can I get an amen, please?"
Hallelujah.
This is exactly what Pleasant Grove residents have been asking for.
It's fun. Diana, isn't it fun? Yeah.
Congratulations.
No, thank you.
You will have a permanent key to the city.
Yes, you will.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have a motion on this one, and is this where we do the subdivision, or the storm drain on the site plan? Okay, so this one is not the site plan, this is the lot.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve the one-lot subdivision, final subdivision plat called Valley Grove Business Park, Plat D, on property located at approximately 1064 South North County Boulevard in the interchange subdistrict of the Grove Zone. Daniel Thomas, applicant.
Second.
We have a motion by Ben and a second by Diana, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now I'll entertain a motion on the site plan. And on the site plan, we need to add the condition.
The condition, yes, in regard to stormwater easements.
Can you just fill in the language when they get to that
For sure,
point?
yes,
Okay.
Mayor.
All right, well then I will make a motion that we approve a site plan for an office building on property located at 1064 South North County Boulevard in the interchange subdistrict of the Grove Zone, with the condition that all fire,
final-
police... Okay, go
I'll
ahead.
take over. All final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met, include an agreement with regards to stormwater easements and facilities needed across the proposed development area.
And I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Diana and a second by Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. Thank you. Daniel, thank you very much. We appreciate
I'd
it.
like to direct staff to get a big key.
We only gave him a key, it was to the old rec center.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm going to have the opportunity later to say this publicly, but I just wanted to express some sincere appreciation for the opportunity that I've had to work with Mayor Daniels and also Councilman Stanley in the past. I don't think you are going to go missing in action. I feel you'll probably always be involved in what we're doing in this great city, but I just personally and publicly wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your service, and thanks for what you've done for us.
Thank you, Daniel.
Likewise.
Okay, let's go to 10C. This is to consider for approval a 23-lot final subdivision plat called Miller Park Estates Plat B on property located at approximately 530 West, 2100 North in the RR zone. Ron Peck is the applicant.
Mayor, Council, this is the last portion of land that is left without being developed in this area. It's the area that is south of the pond. When we started working on this, we kind of master planned the entire area. We had three different players, three different developers that came in. Let me go a little bit. There we go. That's the better image. So we had one developer right here, which is already, that place already in construction. So with this one, and this applicant, Ron Pegg, he owned all the land around right here. So he divided his project into two phases. Obviously, first phase, and now this one's the second phase. And now for this plat, it's a 23-lot plat, and it's going to be located in this 13.72 acres that are left. So that's what is proposed. The zone is RR. Every single lot in this area should have half-acre lots, which they do. And here's the how the plat is going to look. As we can see, also we are amending the vicinity plan, but the new proposed vicinity plan matches what was there before, so we're not losing any of the connections that we work with the previous developers. So again, this is the final plat, Manila Park Estates Plat B. 23 lots and half-acre lots.
With animal rights?
Yes, ma'am, with animal rights. Yeah.
Is this a gated or open?
No.
Okay.
It's open, yeah, it's open. So this item went to the Planning Commission in November, and it received a unanimous recommendation of approval as well.
And the part that's panhandled to the left, that is already
Developed, yeah,
developed?
by the same developer,
Okay.
yeah.
Do we, who owns that creek that goes through there? Is that? Okay.
Pleasant Grove Irrigation Company, there's an easement across the.
Other-
I should mention that we do have. Remember back when we were discussing this item, we do have a 20-inch pressure irrigation line that comes out of the bottom in the Little Creek Pond that goes right down that alignment. And Daniel, if you go to the next one, back to the plat.
Yes, sir.
You can see that there's an easement across lot 203. That's our outlet pipe, and once it gets to the road, they will be required to realign that pipe into the road so it doesn't go into any property. So we've worked with them on that. We're reviewing those plans. We've reviewed those plans, so it realigns that into the road.
Can you back up to the overall vicinity? Okay.
So then when it hits, okay.
So it's on easement from the pond to the street, but from the street, then it'll run in the street, so we won't have any more easements
Which
in the right
direction
away.
is it, does it go?
South.
So it follows the road all the way to the south?
Down, yeah.
Yep, and connects at
550
550 west. It's already in that street, so it just,
So it comes right here, it goes right here, and it connects.
That's a 20, what is that?
it's a 20-inch pressure irrigation main, so.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for approval of a 23-lot final subdivision called Manila Park Estates Plat B on property located at approximately 530 west, 2900 north in the RR Rural Residential Zone.
Second.
We have a motion by Eric and a second by Lynn. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That sounded unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item D is to consider for approval a 3-lot final subdivision plat called the Void Plat D on property located at approximately 305 South Garden Grove Lane in the commercial sales subdistrict of the Grove Zone. This is Elon Urban Grove LLC is the applicant.
Similar to the first presentation, Mayor and Council, if you guys allow me, I would like to talk about the plat and the site plan at
So
the same time.
DNE?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So the plat, it's a 3-lot subdivision plat. This is a vacation of void plat, and in this case, we are already doing 3 different lots. We're only using 1 lot, and in that one, we'll also the applicant is proposing a office story building. It's a 3-story building, and we're talking about almost 100,000 square feet of office space. Actually, 96,000 of square feet. This is the location. Here's the fertility clinic, just to help us out a little bit, getting the, get your spatial location. In this case, again, we are creating 3 different lots. This is lot 1, lot 2, lot 3. So in this lot, the entire subdivision is almost, a little bit more than 9.5 acres. But we'd like to focus for the site plan on this lot right here, which is a little bit bigger than 4.5 acres. Here's an aerial view of what's going on in the vicinity. Here's the plat. Okay, and again, the site plan will be located only on this lot right here. So that's the next item. What we're talking about is an office building. These lots right here, and please disregard these ones. I mean, that's maybe in the future they're proposed. We're not going through the process yet, so we like to focus on this site plan right there. Like I mentioned, it's almost 100,000 square feet of office space. Parking, they comply with parking. This is the landscape plan. They did it separately. The shrubbery Is that a word, shrubbery? If not, I hope you guys understand, but the shrubs are right here.
No, shrubbery is a word.
Okay, shrubbery, and then we have the trees. The trees are right there, okay? So that's the landscape. Again, when these guys went to DRB, there were certain recommendations DRB asked them to do in regards to the landscape. They did those changes. For example, right here, they have parking spots. DRB recommended to do a really nice area with landscape and maybe a lunch table and some other ideas like that. The applicant was very nice, willing to work with the city, and he came up with a better design. DRB gave their recommendation of approval as well as the planning commission. It was unanimously. In regards to materials and colors, they also exceed on the requirements architecturally and in regards to materials as well. So that's going to be the look of the building. This is a 3-story building. Now, this applicant wants to use a little bit of this building as a warehouse. As a rule of thumb, I've allowed certain buildings in this area, certain areas to be used as a warehouse. I mean, if we want to retail to be successful, hopefully they have an area where they can use it for warehousing of their products. Usually I don't, well, as a rule of thumb, again, we don't go anything beyond 15% of the area of the building. And in this case, they have an area that is less than 10%, but they will be using it for storage. Hopefully it's business that takes off and, you know, they need that area. Now, the condition.
That's the bay door area right there.
Correct. Now, the condition is that warehousing use needs to be incidental to the main use, which is retail office building, and it cannot be rented out just as general warehousing, but it has to be incidental to the main use. That's what we have, Mayor and Council.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Any questions? Discussion? I mean, if you approve this, you're talking about 300,000 square feet of office today.
Is this being developed by like a specific, or is this also a spec building?
Can you use your microphone?
Yes.
Are we at liberty to say at this point if this is going to be built by someone specifically, or is this a spec as well?
Well, I think the applicant will be able to answer that question even better than me, but at this point, all I know is just office building so far. I mean, the developers, Elan Groups, they talked to me a couple things, but they're not for sure. Maybe we can ask the applicant.
Applicants are here. Do you want to come up and talk to us for a minute?
And it's a very
By the way, welcome to our city council meeting.
Beautiful design, by the way. I love
Thank
it.
you. Yeah, we have some nicer renderings as well. I don't know if Daniel has any of those, but yeah. So I'm Alma Fairber with Elon Urban Grove, and my company Orchard Securities. We're going to be. We're helping with the development, and we're also going to be taking about 15,000 square feet, and then we're going to bring in some of our friends, like another. So we're in the securities industry. In case you're wondering about the warehouse, we ship out a lot of investment documents and prospectuses and PPMs. And so the space we're in now in Lehigh, we have our office and then the warehouse in back. And so we're kind of replicating that here. But yes, we will be residing in that building.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's where are we at now? Pre-leased, we're about 40%.
Okay.
North of the Gardner Company.
Sure.
It's not just one tenant, it'll be multiple.
Okay.
Right.
And are they related to your industry? Not particularly, okay.
There'll be a couple tenants related, but then we'll just open it up.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful. 40% leased. Wow.
Thank you.
Any questions for the
It's been
applicant?
great to work with.
Well, we're glad to hear that. Thank you.
It's interesting how they mentioned that they're moving from Lehigh. It looks like the gravity of Pleasant Grove is pulling. It has some force.
The slope is aiming this direction.
It all flows downhill. All right, let's entertain a motion then on the 3-lot final subdivision plat.
Mayor, before we do that, can I just ask a point of clarification? Would you like the condition regarding the warehouse as a condition of approval in the motion, so it's clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Would that be for the lot or for the site plan?
The site
For the
plan.
site plan. Okay. Thank you. So for the lot,
So for that, so we don't have to do anything for that one.
I'll make the motion, Mayor and Council, that we approve a 3-lot final subdivision plat called the Void Plat D on property located approximately 305 South Garden Grove Lane in the Commercial Sales Subdistrict of the Grove Zone.
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Ben and a second by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's go now for the site plan. And please remember the warehouse condition.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve a site plan on property located at approximately 305 South Garden Grove Lane in the Commercial Sales Sub-District of the Grove Zone with the condition that
The use of the warehouse must be incidental to the primary office use. The warehouse may not be leased separately to companies who only provide warehousing or storage services.
Second.
We have a motion by Diana and a second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
I love
We
that
are
the employee-
unanimous on both. Welcome to Pleasant Grove.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we appreciate you.
I love the second. Okay.
Yes.
I love that the second part of my
Thing.
my sentences are with a Mexican accent. It sounds so much better. I'm going to start saying the first part of it like that.
Okay, I'm a little twisted here. Are we on item F?
Yes.
Okay. Item F is to consider for adoption an ordinance 2017-49, amending Title 8, Chapter 1, Section 4B of the Pleasant Grove City Municipal Code, updating service fee, provisions for disconnection of culinary water services, and providing for an effective date. Tina?
So, Mayor and Council, the next three items are basically housekeeping, sort of cleanup items in our local ordinances that have been made at the request of various staff members. This particular one is made at the request of Scott Wells, our utilities manager, and it has to do with the late fees and the disconnection fees that we have been charging. Our current ordinance provides for a $30 service charge for new connections, and it provided for a $20 disconnection fee. That fee had not been updated in quite a while. Mr. Wells is recommending that and he has been recommending a $50 disconnection fee. And then there are instances where he will go out, somebody will be scheduled for disconnection, he will go out to actually disconnect the water service, and before the water service is actually disconnected, the citizen has arranged for payment. And so he's proposing a $20 dispatch fee to cover the cost of his time and effort of actually going out and showing up on the property. So if a person is scheduled for the shut-off and he goes and the water bill is paid and he doesn't end up shutting the water off, it will be $20. If he goes and actually shuts the water off, it's $50. Any questions about that?
I've got kind of a random question, Tina. Do you have any idea statistically how many of these we do in a year? How many times we shut water off? How frequent this?
Oh, I don't, I'm
A lot.
sorry, but we do a lot. I mean,
It seems like a lot, Ben. I mean, not just to be walking through the office and to hear of that many disconnects. It just seems like it's a lot.
I can get that number for you from him tomorrow and email it out if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. It'd be-
Okay.
I
Happy to
think
do
we have
that.
more than 100 every month.
Okay.
And what's happening is, we send Scott and his time out there to go disconnect, to shut off the water. And he shows up and some people will pay him there to get whole, which is great. But he's already taken the time to go out there, so we're trying to recoup some of the cost of his time, where we prefer people just pay their bill, and even if they're late, just, pay it in. But once Scott has to go out and start doing all the disconnects, then it's a lot of time for him. So we're just trying to recoup that cost.
Thanks.
Any
Any
other
additional
questions?
questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for adoption of ordinance 2017-49, amending Title 8, Chapter 1, Section 4B of the Pleasant Grove Municipal Code, updating service fee provisions for disconnection of Calamari water service and providing for effective date.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by by Eric, and a second by Diana. By voice, Diana?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, item G, to consider for adoption an ordinance 2017-50, amending Title II, Chapter 2A, subsection 3 of the Pleasant Grove Municipal Code regarding term of service for neighborhood chairs and providing for an effective date.
This is at the request of Libby Flegel. As you are aware, probably over the course of the service of our neighborhood chairman, it originally provided for a 2-year term with the option to be reappointed for another 2-year term. Many of our neighborhood chairs are interested in serving longer than that, and Libby has had a problem filling those spots. So we're requesting that they just, we eliminate the term requirement and just they'll serve in until such time as they are no longer available or a replacement is designated.
Any review or anything, just indefinite?
I think probably it would be something if you wanted to review, we could review it every 4 years when the new mayor comes in.
Sure, okay.
Do you know the way?
Question?
Yeah, I've got a couple of quick questions, if I may. The way I read that, it talks about the chair and the secretary specifically, not every neighborhood advisory board member. Is that right?
Yeah, for the chair. Well, it says the chair that a neighborhood chair will be appointed by the mayor and city council. The chair may then select a secretary to serve the neighborhood. Both the chair and the secretary shall reside in the neighborhood and be at least 18 years of age. Prior, it said the chair shall serve for a 2-year term, and the chair may be reappointed at the discretion of the mayor and council for another 2-year term. We added that the chair and the secretary shall serve until such time as they are no longer available. So it doesn't.
Does that clarify for you, Ben?
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious as a matter of historical practice. We haven't actually had secretaries from each neighborhood. And I'm not sure I understand if this is referring to the chair of the actual neighborhood advisory board or each neighborhood
No, this is the neighborhood chair. It makes that clear in the very beginning sentence. It's the
We
neighborhood chair.
did have secretaries. It became a little more difficult in more recent years to find even chairs, let alone vice chairs and secretaries.
Got it.
I mean, it was tough.
Sure.
Yeah, we're not talking about Libby, we're talking about the individual
Right.
neighborhoods.
Right.
That's how I read it. It was the individual neighborhoods.
Yeah, and I see that.
Okay.
And I just wasn't familiar with the practice of secretaries at all for the neighborhoods, because I don't recall ever seeing one, but.
And now's our chance
Used
to
to be.
reappoint Libby for 2 more years if we wanted, right?
For indefinitely.
For indefinite.
Okay, so do we need to include something in there about being reviewed by the council and mayor at 4 years, or?
I think it's part of the natural, I mean, you can put it as part of the motion if you want.
The reason I'm even bringing this up is as you recall, probably 12 years ago now, we did have an incident where some citizens were appointed to serve, and they assumed that it was a legal right to maintain that position indefinitely.
Right. That is actually handled in the administrative section of Title II. So it makes clear in another section that all of those volunteer boards and commission members serve at the pleasure of the mayor and council and can
So
be.
it's already covered.
It's already someplace
Okay,
else.
sounds good to me. Okay, any other questions or discussion?
A random question, not related specifically to this, but do we have a replacement for you, Libby, or are we going to be out of luck?
Well, I think that would be to the mayor-elect and the new city council,
Okay.
as Libby is serving through the last day of my term.
If I can make a recommendation, to our council.
Did you have any further questions on that?
I would love to have a conversation about this at the retreat.
Yeah, I think we'll put it on the agenda and look through the whole process and see what we have.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for adoptance of ordinance 2017-50, amending Title II, Chapter 2A, subsection 3 of the Pleasant Grove Municipal Code regarding term of service for neighborhood chairs and providing for effective date.
Second?
We have another motion by Eric and a second by Diana. By voice, Lynn?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
It's unanimous. Okay. Item I is to consider for adoption an ordinance 2017-52. Did I skip one?
Missed H.
I'm sorry, H. To consider for adoption an ordinance 2017-51, setting the time and place of regular meetings of the City Council, boards, commissions, and committee meetings of Pleasant Grove City for the year 2018 and providing for an effective date.
So Mayor and Council, we are mandated by state law to set by ordinance our anticipated meeting schedules for the public bodies of the council and the boards and commissions and committees each year. The various committees are listed in the ordinance and when their normal meeting times and their normal meeting places are. We have dates for our anticipated actual city council meetings in 2018 and also the work sessions. I'm not sure if there are any specific ones that we changed or modified. I know
I can
Scott-
speak to that.
Yeah.
So just as we looked over it, just a couple meetings that we have taken off the schedule that if the city council chooses can always put back on the schedule, but we canceled the first Tuesday in April, which is generally spring break, and in the past, we've always canceled that meeting, so we've just left that off this go-around. We also, the third Tuesday in June, which is Strawberry Days, we've canceled that meeting. The third Tuesday in July will be the primaries. Kathy, did we confirm that? The primary elections in June?
What election are
Really?
we talking about?
Okay.
Oh, the county.
County elections.
Gosh, I just went into like post-traumatic stress disorder.
County and national stuff.
Start over.
No, July, we'll still meet on the 17th then. So the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th. And then we, right now, are scheduled for one meeting in November and one meeting in December. So that's more or less how we've done it, except for the canvas. So again, if the council wants to add meetings when we get a little bit closer, we can do that. But that's,
And can we have maybe a discussion that retreat to about our work sessions and meetings
Yes.
too, about maybe revamp or something? Or
Yes. we
yeah,
can put
I'll put that on the
If we
agenda.
approve this right now, we could still have a conversation.
Correct.
You want us to continue this?
No, we need to adopt this, and then if we want to amend it later on with regard to work sessions, we'll just file an amended notice.
Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I would love to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2017-51, setting the time and place of the regular meetings of the City Council, boards, commissions, and committee meetings of Pleasant Grove City for the year of 2018 and providing for an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Diana, second by Lynn, by voice. Ben?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
And Anna?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay. Now, item I, to consider for adoption an ordinance 2017-52, amending Title III, Chapter 2, Alcoholic Beverages, subsection 4C, 1, Licenses and Licensing Requirements, and subsection 9, Distance to Church or Schools, and subsection 3-2-12, Hours of Sale, to bring the local ordinance into conformance with the new state alcohol regulations and providing for an effective date.
So the state legislature, in their legislative session of 2017, made some significant changes to the state alcohol regulations, which necessitated some minor amendments to our local ordinance with regard to proximity to community locations, hours of sale, and then when a minor may or may not be involved in selling beer. So before, our local ordinance required that no person under the age of 21 years of age shall sell beer under this license, and that was consistent with state law. However, the state amended it to allow minors who are 16 years of age or older to sell beer on the licensed premises of an off-premise beer retailer. So a Macy's or Maverick or something like that. They can sell it now, but they have to be under the supervision of a person who is 21 years of age or older who is on the licensed premises when the sale takes place. So we've just amended our ordinance to be in conformance with that new regulation from the state, which actually loosens the opportunity for employees to be engaged in the sale of alcohol. Did you have a question?
Yeah, what's the definition of community location?
So community location is defined in the next section. Our old ordinance, we had distance requirements, and they were defined as distances to church or schools. In the new state code, they have created a definition for community location, which expands the actual facilities that have distance requirements. So a community location means a public or private school, a church, a public library, a public playground, or a public park. In the old ordinance, they could not sell alcohol within 600 feet of any church, school, public library, public playground, or park. And they could not sell, the 200 feet restriction had to do with a different way of measuring it. So the state clarified the way of measuring now, so we've also amended our code, or proposing to amend our code to meet the state's definition of how to measure, because there was some confusion. There was two different ways you could measure, and it created some problems for people in interpreting the ordinance. So from now on, no alcoholic beverage outlet facility may be established within 600 feet of a community location as measured from the nearest entrance of the proposed outlet by following the shortest route of ordinary pedestrian traffic to the property boundary of the community location, or within 200 feet of the proposed outlet measured in a straight line from the nearest entrance of the proposed outlet to the nearest property boundary of the community location, which is clear as mud for all of us, except for hopefully community development can figure that out. And then they've also divided out the restaurant. That was not a separate category before. And so now no restaurant serving alcohol or beer only may be established within 300 feet of a community location with the same types of measuring. So what it does basically is it adds some definitions and some clarity. It defines, separates out restaurants versus other alcoholic beverage outlets, and I think provides an incentive for more restaurants to be able to acquire business licenses. And then the other thing that they amended was the hours of sale. So a full-service restaurant license may sell, offer for sale, or furnish beer at the licensed premises during the following time periods only. On a weekday, during the period that begins at 11:30 a.m. and ends at 12:59 a.m., or on a weekend or a state or federal legal holiday, or for a private event during the period that begins at 10:30 a.m. and ends at 12:59 a.m. So that expands it by, I think, about an hour from what it used to be. It used to be they couldn't offer for sale from midnight until 11:30 a.m. in the morning. So this gives them another half hour at night to serve. And on holidays, it gives them an hour more earlier to start. So that's
Again,
it.
this is just bringing us in conformance.
Correct. It's just clean up and bring us into conformance with the state law. What happens is the legislature meets in January, February, March. They enact the laws and approve them. Then typically the effective date is not till sometime in May. And then usually in October is when we finally get our updated code books so that we can go through and make sure that we're in compliance. And so that's why the delay is that I usually have to wait for October before I can get all the details.
Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, I have one.
Okay.
What does this do to enforcement? Like, is this going to increase, people, like, the number of violations to the selling, underage selling?
No, I think it will
to-
decrease it.
Decrease it? Okay.
Well, it will decrease it because they're giving them more latitude on the hours, and so they'll have actually more time to sell. And then the only place I can see where it might have a increase would be the 16 years and older having to require the 21 years of age supervisor. I know that staffing is often an issue for convenience stores and that type of thing, and so they may not have somebody that's actually supervising that minor selling the beer. And the county will go in periodically and do stings. They'll do alcohol checks, and I would anticipate there might be a few more citations issued under that
I was
clause.
wondering.
Yeah.
So, but the county is doing that, that's not our.
We don't do that. We have an officer attend with them, but it's basically their operation.
So it wouldn't be costing us more money? Okay. All right.
And Tina, do we have to match the state exactly, or do we have some latitude to be more or less restrictive as a city?
We don't on this part.
We don't have the latitude.
We don't have the latitude on this part.
Well, it's good to understand it. All right, if there's no further discussion, then I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion for adoption of ordinance 2017-52, amending Title III, Chapter 2, alcoholic beverages, subsection 4C, 1, licenses and licensing requirements, and subsection 9, ordinance into conformance with new state alcohol regulations and providing for effective date.
I'll second it.
And the right side of the table continues. Okay, Lynn?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
Motion is unanimous.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Item J, to consider for adoption a resolution 2017-063 authorizing the mayor to declare 28 computers and a 2016 CAT 938M loader as surplus and direct that they be disposed of according to the city's policy for disposing of surplus property and providing for an effective date.
So if I can just address the computers.
Loader.
Yeah. Every year, we have a 3-year cycle, or 4, I can't remember, 3 or 4-year cycle on our computers. And so when we do switch those out, then we declare the old ones that we have left as surplus. We determine the market value. We have our IT person determine the market value, and then we give employees the first opportunity to buy their computers at that market value. And then the other ones we just dispose of as necessary. So, but in order to do that, we need to have the city council declare them surplus.
And let's guess, Marty's going to cover the loader?
Marty will cover the loader.
I got the exciting one, big piece of equipment. This last year, we purchased a CAT loader this last year in an amount of $156,000 approximately. With that, we have an option to sell it back to CAT. This year, we're selling it back for $171,000. Doing the math, that's $15,000 increase. So we felt it was worth selling back to them. So we're selling it back to them, and we will be purchasing a new loader for $159,000, and with the opportunity to sell it back again in a year at $171,000.
Gosh, can we keep this game going?
If they keep letting us do it, we're probably going to do it. So that's why we're surplusing it, so that we can sell it back to them. We will purchase a new loader, brand new, and then probably sell it back again at the end of the year.
What is that, a 9% gain after you've used it?
Or is it because we're just not putting a lot of hours on it? Is it because we're buying it off a state bid?
It is off of state bid. They're able to sell it at a higher cost and back as a slightly used, and we don't put a lot of hard hours on it. And so
That's worth a little bit more than the 28 computers.
I've had some calls, Marty, with questions about that cat loader, people that recalled us doing this less than a year ago, like just a few months ago, didn't we? Did we take some action on surplusing a loader more recently than?
Did the John Deere last year.
Yeah, we did the John Deere, so it's not the only one we have, but we bought this one in December. I just looked it up for John Goodman.
Okay.
We actually purchased it about this time of year. So it's time
Yeah,
again.
kind of right at the end of the year is when the contract is
When this
1 year out.
contract's
so.
up, yeah.
Okay.
Other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Want to talk about the computers at all? No?
Mayor, I'll make
Oh,
the motion.
you did, okay.
Lynn. Go ahead.
Make a motion that we adopt a resolution 2017-063, authorizing the mayor to declare 28 computers and a 2016 CAT 938M loader as surplus, and direct that they be disposed of according to the city's policy for disposing of surplus property and providing for an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion by Lynn and a second by Eric, by voice. Diana?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item K, to consider for adoption a resolution 2017-064, adopting the audit report and comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017, and providing for an effective date.
Well, the audit's done. And so tonight, Aaron Hickson is here with Hanson, Bradshaw, Malmos, and Erickson, and he's the partner there, and he'll be presenting the comprehensive annual financial report, and he'll highlight a couple of the statements and then just talk about some things with the audit. And then if you have any other questions, I can answer them. But, so I'm just going to turn the time over to Aaron.
Okay.
So he just drove from Riverton City Council, so with a few minutes to spare.
Thank you.
Good timing.
We stalled.
Appreciate that. Because I know that everybody looks forward to the audit presentation. You're marking your calendars for next year.
Yes.
It's so exciting. It is a pleasure to address you, and I am pleased that we are engaged to do the audit for Pleasant Grove. And I have to give some kudos to Denise, her team, Scott, and everyone who participates in helping us with the audit. As I affectionately call them warm fuzzies. As an auditor, I want those. I want to be able to feel like when I come in and talk to an organization and get the support that I need for the numbers, that I feel like they know what they're doing and they are understanding of the numbers. And then I just know that everything is going to go well. The opposite has happened at times, and that just makes you question a lot of different things. And so because an audit is largely based on statistical sampling, we don't look at every single transaction. I just am very appreciative of Denise and Scott and everyone and their expertise. And so the CAFR, or Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, was provided to you in your digital packet. And I will start by turning to page 13. This is the audit opinion, and this is the only part of the document that our firm can claim. The rest of it is that of management's. And at the bottom of page 13, there is the opinion paragraph, and it basically says that in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of Pleasant Grove City as of June 30th, 2017. This is what we call a clean opinion. We cannot give any higher opinion than this. And so we have finished a good year statewide, as well as locally. Things are looking a lot better than they were a few years ago. We're able to have some breathing room with some revenue increases that we haven't had before, and it is reflective of that in the financial statements here. I'm going to base my remarks, even though the document is 112 pages, on roughly 5 or 6 of them. The first section of the CAFR is the management's discussion and analysis. This is a document that is prepared exclusively by management, and I like it because it is comparative. It shows this year as well as last year, and it gives plain English accounting so that you can understand the overview of the goings-on of the city financially and highlights. And so I will start on page 15. The total net position of Pleasant Grove increased approximately 6% to $155 million. The increase is basically attributable to some general obligation bonds that were taken out for approximately $9.5 million for a construction of a public safety facilities. The governmental funds reported a combined ending fund balance of about $17 million. Of this, about $3 million is available for spending at the discretion of council, and there was also an increase. Sorry, that was redundant. All of the city's operations are presented in two different categories. One, governmental activities, such as public safety, and two, business type activities, such as utility. They call them business activities because when you really think about it, you are running a business. You have customers, you charge them money for services, and then you have expenses related to that. The profit, if you will, is used to better that fund and the utilities, as well as at times subsidize other aspects or functions of the government that are not self-sustaining. On page, let's see, on page 23, I wanted to highlight one aspect of when it comes down to the long-term debt or the bonds that the city has. You have approximately $63 million in bonds, and of that, $50 million is secured by revenue, and whereas the remaining $13 million are general obligation bonds. And so you're in a good position. You can't run a municipality like you run your home. There's a lot of debt and expenditures that are front-loaded.
Can you say that one more time? Okay.
No, the other part. You're in good
Yes.
And so
We love both of those sentences.
and I say that because a lot of people don't understand that. And for example, if you have a developer that wants to come in and put in 50 homes, there's a lot of expenditures that have to go be in place before people want to buy homes. And so there is a lot of money that you put up front with anticipation of property taxes and utility payments coming in to repay that. And so what it does is it takes a good team like Scott and Denise to ensure that there is a good balance of debt and the type of debt that you have, so that you can have growth. When you compare Pleasant Grove to even 10 years ago, it is a vastly different city. And so I commend all those who are in charge of that and have been a part of that. So the remaining part of my presentation will be at the very back, starting on page 107. Governments are unique from a for-profit audit in that we are required to look at the internal controls and report on those. And so we want to make sure that the checks written and cash out and the money collected, that the controls over those processes are good, and that the citizens and those in charge can feel comfortable that all the money that you should be collecting is being deposited into the bank account, and all the expenses that are being made are approved by council and those who are in charge of approving at the department level. And this report is on the back of the bottom of page 108. We had no internal control findings, but we have a compliance issue. And so government auditing standards, as well as the state of Utah, have us look at various compliance matters. And normally, when we do auditing, we have a materiality factor. We can say, yes, we see that there is this small variance, but it's insignificant, so we're not going to worry about it. But when you talk compliance, it's yes or no. And so there are a vast amount of compliance requirements that we're told to look at. And in that, it did result in a compliance finding. And you will see that on page 112 at the very back, the last page of the document. Budgetary compliance. State law requires that all of the expenditures be appropriated and that your expenditures don't exceed that appropriation. There were 3 non-major funds that had expenses that exceeded the budgeted amount. And so we just needed to bring that to your attention. I discussed this with Denise, and who discussed it with Scott, and they are aware on how to correct it. In my opinion, it's already satisfied, and they are aware throughout the year. When you set your original budget, you are encouraged to amend that as needed, and that's all you do.
So this was an amendment issue?
So, yes.
We didn't
Yeah.
catch them in time?
Correct.
If I can address that, in the past, on our last budget amendment, we would make sure we'd catch these. We would have the council amend the budget to account for that, and we did not catch these in time, so.
So was it just for the last amendment, or did you find
No,
varied through the year? Just the one
Been the
amendment?
one-year amendment we would have needed
Right.
to do at the end of the fiscal
All we
year.
look at is the first one and the last one.
Okay.
And so, this is the equivalent of a soft smack on the back of the hand. This is not a big deal, especially in the amounts that we're talking. Nobody is perfect. We can't know everything and plan on everything with finality. And so we just needed to bring it to your attention. And so if you were to rate these findings, I would follow, other than verbal, this is where this would lie. And so before I conclude, are there any questions that any of you have that I can address?
I've got a few, Aaron. Is it Aaron?
Yes, Aaron.
I've been getting calls from members of the public that have questions about our auditing process, and I was hoping maybe you could explain some of the weaknesses or the shortcomings of the auditing process, some of the things you don't look at. I've had people, for example, people have asked, does the audit that we do each year analyze whether funds that were supposed to come from a impact fee actually came from that impact fee versus from the general fund? Is that something that would be explored in this audit, this level of audit?
So let me answer this by saying, when we look at the audit, again, we use statistical sampling, and we also want to focus on the larger items. As I said at the beginning, we don't say that your books are correct. We say that they are fairly stated.
Right.
And so there are compliance requirements when it comes to impact fees. And all we are required to do is ensure that the impact fee schedule is being prepared in the format that the state desires, and that it's being remitted to them timely.
Got it.
And so we used to do a lot of different procedures on that specifically, but we do not do anything other than what I explained.
Got it. Thank you.
Reading through a 112-page document with how detailed every page is, I would not at all state that this is shortcomings in the audit process. And it's our job as a council and mayor and staff, if we have questions about that process with impact fees or anything else, to go to our directors and ask about that. But to say there's shortcomings just because a member of the public doesn't agree with how the process is done is, and can read through, and they can have access to this document, which can we post that tomorrow, Denise or Scott? There's no shortcomings, in my opinion, in this document, and I appreciate the work and effort that's been put into it because it's very, very detailed. And if there are questions, we have the opportunity to ask, and we should be as council members going through that process. Is this your third year working with the city?
This is our second.
Second year, okay.
So,
Anyone else, questions?
Wants us to look at. And so, in general, they're just wanting to make sure that the monies that the state gives to all of the municipalities are being handled appropriately. And I go back to what I discussed earlier. It's everybody has their own finances, and you want to make sure that you are spending your money wisely. And so they know how to budget, and so when they try to apply those budgeting terms and practices at the municipality level, it's very difficult because sometimes they relate and sometimes they don't. And it's very easy to misunderstand how these financial statements are presented. In fact, I would venture to say that they've become so complex that if you try to compare one number on one page with another, it can be misleading if you don't know what you're looking at. That leads me to say that I am happy to address any questions that any of you have as you read this, and I hope that you read it tonight before you go to bed, because it is awesome.
I'm sure it'll put us to bed just fine.
And also, reaching out to Scott and Denise, because the worst thing that you can do is misinterpret a number and assume that something is bad when it really isn't. A negative number does not always mean bad, and a positive number does not always mean good.
Right in the.
No, they don't. So
that's what I thought.
On that note, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd make the motion that we adopt the resolution 2017-064, adopting the audit report and comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017, and providing for an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion by Lynn and a second by Sid by voice. Ben?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes,
It
thanks
is-
to staff.
It is unanimous. And Denise, Scott, thank you very much for running this quite well.
All without a big gulp.
Thank you, Aaron. All right, item L is to consider for adoption a resolution 2017-065 authorizing the mayor to sign an amended general service contract agreement with Pacific Corp, DBA Rocky Mountain Power, to provide electric service to the irrigation booster pump operation at the Walker Tank Project located at 1250 East 300 North, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor and Council, on October 3rd, we came before you with an agreement with Rocky Mountain Power to provide power to the pump station at the Walker Tank site. With that agreement, one of the things that they were requiring is that we provide them an easement within the right-of-way so that they could essentially have an easement. So they gave us two options. We could either put it in the public utility easement, which would have been very, very expensive to do, or we could give them a right-of-way in the public right-of-way or an easement, and then that would satisfy that. In further talkings with them, they've also given us an option to just do a special provision to that contract, which indicates essentially the same thing that an easement would be giving them, and that is the right to operate their facilities within our right-of-way. The difference between this, for your purposes, is that a franchise agreement would typically allow them to be there, and then we could ask them to relocate those if we ever had any conflict with those. In this situation, we will not be able to just say, we want you to move this line now, move it at your expense, and just do it for, maybe we have a conflict with some other utility or roadway. What we're doing is we're saying that the right-of-way can be used for this utility line, and that if there was a reason that we needed to relocate that utility, that it would be at our expense rather than at their expense. So for us, it means that we're not having to spend a lot of money to try to get it behind into the public utility easement in the front yard of all the residents there, a very large 6-inch diameter line. We would have had to bore that. And so we felt that this was the best option. We have a great location. The conduit is in the road already. So rather than doing an easement, we just felt it would be good to just redo the agreement with this special provision, item 8. So this is the only difference in the contract, is that they added the special provision section that talks about the right for us, for them to be within the right of way, and that if we had to relocate it, that would be at our expense.
Questions for Marty? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I can,
Go for it, Sid.
I would like to adopt Resolution 2017-065, authorizing the mayor to sign an amended general service contract agreement with Pacific Corp. DB of Rocky Mountain Power to provide electric service to the irrigation bus.
Booster.
It says Buster on here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sorry.
Booster.
I like Buster better. Irrigation booster pump operation at the Walker Tank Project located at 1250 East 300 North and providing for an effective date.
Second.
We have a motion by Sid and a second by Lynn. By voice, Diana?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Sid?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Do you have a picture of the tank?
I've got a bunch of pictures of the tank.
Or is it-
Are they awesome?
How about
They're
the
always awesome.
booster station?
Right after we are done. Okay, we're moving to 11A, discussion and direction on a street name change for the Void.
Mayor,
Marty.
Council, the current owner of the, so Ken Brettschneider's group came to us and asked if the city would entertain the renaming of one of the streets that they named with their plat down in the Void area. To give you some location here, this is the Holiday Oil on the corner, Pleasant Grove Boulevard, and then it's now constructed. We've held a final walkthrough on this, and there's the roundabout. This is the Void building there. This is Evermore Gardens that they're doing. When they recorded the plat, they requested and what were approved to name these streets. This street here, as you can see, was named the Void Way, and this is Evermore Lane. They have requested that they make this entire street Evermore Lane rather than having a portion of that as Void Way and the other portion as Evermore Lane. We as staff didn't feel like that there would be any concerns. There is a process that we have to go through to do that. Affidavits, address affidavits, notification to the county, assessor's office, and mapping and all of that stuff to get that to change. But we didn't have any concerns with that, so we wanted to bring that before you with their request.
Any discussion?
I got a quick question. Is the process, the affidavits that you just described, is that all covered by the applicant?
So there was a $250 fee charged for the application and for going through this process. So yes, they covered that cost as part of the application fee.
Got it. I don't have any concerns.
Evermore Lane.
New road, built within the area that it's going to be used for. No other ties. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
It's just
Are we doing a motion?
No, it's just a discussion. Do it.
Okay, we will move forward with that.
Okay. B, let's see, discussion on removing a portion of the median on Pleasant Grove Boulevard for more efficient access for future development.
So this is in the exact same location that we're talking about. Hopefully we can see this. It's kind of hard to picture. Could we hit the light there on that one so it'll be a little bit easier to see what's going on? So this is the same parcels that we're discussing. This is again Evermore Gardens over on this side. This is where the new Hyatt Home Hotel is being constructed currently. As you come up this Evermore Lane, it ties into Garden Grove Way, and that road was approved originally to just have a right-in, right-out only option onto Pleasant Grove Boulevard. The applicants, actually both the Elon Group that was here earlier today and the Hyatt Home came to us and asked if there would be a potential to open that up as a full access intersection, allowing for a left-hand turn in and also a left-hand turn out so you can go northbound on Pleasant Grove Boulevard. We looked through some of our access management requirements on Pleasant Grove Boulevard, and it actually fit, so between 13th West and 550 South, I believe it's 660 feet is the minimum access point for this classification of our arterial road. So they were right in the middle between those 2 points. And so we looked at that. We had them submit a traffic impact study to validate that the safety concerns of being able to access at that location would be met. And they've come up with some recommendations with regards to stacking distances for vehicles and making sure the sight distances and everything work for that. One benefit of this is once that becomes a full access intersection, it does really open up the ability to market that property as with some retail pads, on both sides of that street. Now they can get access from northbound Pleasant Grove Boulevard, which is a huge benefit to that site. And so, as
You're talking about this part, this here?
Yes.
This here.
Sorry. So this is where the access would be. So this road, it's currently constructed right here as a right in, right out only. They would open up the median there. There is a vegetated median in Pleasant Grove Boulevard at this location. So they would come in, they would cut out the median for that section, reconstruct a section of that, add the asphalt for the left-hand turn, and then somebody would be able be able to turn here or come out and go northbound. What's that?
You like that?
Yeah, I think it's great. I don't have any problems with it. Again, we've kind of looked at it as long as it met the safety requirements. Its location is in a good location in between. It'll never be signalized or anything of that nature, but it can operate as a full access intersection.
So is there room for a car to pull into that lane and still allow traffic to keep moving?
Yes, there would be, just like you would have at the Holiday Oil, there is a left-hand turn onto 550 South. Okay. So you narrow up the median, so there's only a curb separating the traffic going southbound and that left-hand turn. So you don't have a median for that section, and that's where they pull out and make that left-hand turn.
That's where the road widens, or does it widen a little bit further down?
So this is currently, we've got 2 lanes currently, and this is where it tapers into the 1 lane. You have to make a right-hand turn only here. But we're currently, doTERRA's plans are widening this to 2 lanes all the way to 13th West, so that won't be an issue either.
What about the other side?
The other side will be 2 lanes through here. I believe there's a right-hand turn that's required with this as well. So as you're coming southbound, you would turn out of that second lane into a right-hand turn to make this turn into that intersection. So, and that's on the Elon Group's site plan as well. So they'll be constructing that with their plan.
Okay. Questions, discussion?
Beautiful. Let's move forward, my opinion.
Okay, sounds good.
That's it.
Item C, discussion and direction regarding sewer for residents on 100 East. Thanks, Marty.
Thanks, Marty.
I'm going to have Marty pull up a map for us here for reference. So with the reconstruction of 100 East that will be taking place next summer, we have some homes that are currently on septic systems that could benefit from having sewer put into that road. So this here, if I got that right, that's 2600 North, right? And this is First East here. So we actually have 2 separate groups that we've divided this into. We just call it the North and the South. The North falls under the original annexation agreement when we worked with 4000 North Sewer on putting sewer into their road, and with the city paying for 83% of that, the residents paying for 17% of that, with the city fronting the money and the residents paying us back over time on their portion of that 17%. If we were to put sewer in here, we feel that these residents would, in essence, qualify for that same program that we worked out for 4000 North.
Where's sewer currently?
But we don't have anything in First East.
How are they getting sewer right now?
They're on septic.
Oh, got it.
So we're talking about the uphill side, the east side, and they're above grade right there. Is that right? So it would all flow down from there. There's no issue with that.
So the ones on the south, they're not part of that initial annexation agreement, and so things could be different as far as what the city's responsibility could be there. initially, as Marty looked at this, we had a discussion and invited those residents in to see if there was an interest in them having sewer before we brought anything to you. And we found that the ones up on the northern part were a little more interested than the ones on the, and this is before we started talking price. This is before we started talking any money. That these, generally speaking, were a little more interested. These, generally speaking, were a little less interested. As we got, and we didn't get into the super details on the annexation agreement back when all this was annexed, but they, in essence, wanted to know what the city worked out with 4,000 North, and they wanted to see if they could get that same deal. The ones on the south, we said, at least as Marty and I see it, you're under a little bit different circumstance because you weren't annexed in under that same agreement, and they requested that they could potentially get that same deal, which would be the 83-17 split.
Is there any kind of financial benefit to the city doing both of those at the same time? In other words, installing the sewer in 100 East?
Yeah, I mean, I can address that a little bit, and maybe Marty can. The thing is the road's going to be torn up, so now's the time.
Right. And so the question is it going to cost us less to put the pipe in now while we've torn up the road and we're already mobilizing to put the pipe into the north, assuming we approve this? Does it make financial sense to do that investment now, or does it make more sense to wait to some future date?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, Marty.
No, I think it's pretty clear when they're doing the construction of that, have that road torn up, to put that in at that point is going to be in the best financial interest of both the city and the residents as far as cost. To come back in and cut up that road with the sewers generally are fairly deep, and they have huge impacts generally to a right-of-way. So now is the time to get it in if we're going to do it. I'm not sure if the county would be that interested in doing it in any near future 10-year type thoughts on that brand-new road that they're reconstructing for a 30-year design life.
We wouldn't want that cut anyway.
We wouldn't at all. So, I mean, that's why we're moving this forward. This is something that we feel is in the best interest of everybody to get in. Now, there is a cost basis of that we're trying to analyze whether or not we should move forward with that or not.
Okay, so along this stretch, these are the people that are interested. You're looking right now at this portion. These people were mildly interested and may be interested.
They would be more interested if the city would cover 87% of the cost.
And we're looking at...
Sorry, 83.
We're looking
83,
at,
17.
would this be following a different flow?
Yeah, Mayor, so, sorry I didn't clarify that. The sewer for this lower section actually would start here. So there's actually two sewer lines, that's why we've got a north and south. There'd be one that would extend up to here, and then one that would go from here and up to there. They would
Now,
actually
in
do
2600, you already have sewer along here, so that could tie in. What's the tie-in point here?
It goes down first south.
It's already there.
It's already to right there.
So effectively, that would complete the sewer line in the 100 East Road.
Yes, for that portion. I don't know further north than that, but
No, I think this takes all of it, Scott, like this would
that
be
are
the end
PG
of it.
residents that,
Well, there's a few one-offs
yeah.
that wouldn't.
So you're looking if the council wants to direct you to go ahead and do that, and you'd probably end up with a project that you'd bring to them sometime next year.
So
Yeah.
we've already, they're bidding this project in about 2 weeks. So we've already been talking with the county as far as getting this included. So I have a design of this concept because they had to include it in their plans. And the idea is that we could first bid it out, put it as an additive alternate to the bid, see what the prices were and make a decision at that point. But we wanted to make sure it was included in that original bid packet, so.
So I guess I have a procedural question. This is the last meeting of the year. We're talking about discussion and direction. This is going to be a project that you're bidding now. When does approval from the council come?
It would come in the form of if the city decides to trigger that additive alternate, and if we reach agreement. So with the 4,000 North, we had individual agreements with each property owner on how they were going to repay the city for their portion of the cost.
So there's plenty of time for the new council and mayor to address that issue.
Yes, so tonight, you're not approving this.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
That's not even what's listed here,
Yep.
but I'm just worried about time frame.
No, and that's right, because it's an additive alternate, we have a little time with the new council, because if you say we're okay for you to pursue it, we're going to start talking with individual property owners now, seeing if we can put agreements into place. But there will be trigger points, so the future council will decide yes or no on whether we're going to do this fully, and whether we're going to trigger the additive alternate. So tonight, what we're looking for is, okay, staff, you're okay to continue to pursue this with the residents, but I need a little bit of direction on if we're okay with it, because we can say just, no, we're not interested. We're the ones who approached them. I mean, they didn't.
You want to know blue and purple, and pursue it, and then bring it back.
And I would like a little direction if the city council's willing to give them the same 8713, 8317, sorry, that these guys are getting, because if we go back and say you're on the hook for 100% of the cost of the sewer there. Am I not
Okay,
making sense?
No, you're making perfect sense.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that you're asking the council to give you a head nod on whether they will or won't extend an 8713 or 8515
Sure.
to a purple area that's, I mean, isn't this the same thing we don't encourage in other
No,
discussions?
I understand.
I mean, I'm asking you.
Yeah.
This is my last time, so you
Yeah.
tell me.
Well, I guess if it's a no way, we don't want to do that, then that's what I need to hear. If it's we're willing to entertain it, then we'll go back and start talking to them.
Council, what are your thoughts?
Can I ask a question, Mayor, before we get into council discussion? Marty and I talked briefly this afternoon about the idea of doing a reimbursement agreement with the purple area. Did you have a chance to talk to Scott about that?
I mean, we kind of briefly talked about it before, but whether or not, so the idea of that would be that the city would go ahead, front the cost to get it in. We would have a reimbursement agreement so that if anybody ever connected to it, there'd be a cost for them to make that connection. So that was the concept that we discussed as.
Yeah, so the concept, just to be clear, so everybody knows, is on the purple area, if the council is not inclined to do the 83%, we would still be asking for some consideration of going ahead and upfronting the money and getting 100% reimbursement over time with a reimbursement agreement, which we do frequently with other developers who have to put the infrastructure in first because they're ready to develop and their neighbors are not. The reimbursement agreements are typically good for about 10 years. So, and at the end of that 10 years, we would have to probably revisit the issue and redo the notice.
So there's still a lot of things that are floating, but just to be clear.
Yes.
So this is the end for some of us, right? And we can't bind a future council.
Yeah.
We're just looking for a head nod that the future council could change.
Yes.
But clearly, it makes sense to do the research now,
Thank you.
right?
That's
going to
what
be
we
bid now.
wanted to hear.
I'm not giving you approval. This is a question to the council.
No, and sorry, maybe I didn't, I wasn't very clear, but if it's a no, we're not interested, that's what I need tonight.
Council, where are you at with
If it's
this?
yes, consider this, we'll go back and start working through the nuts and bolts of this with the residents.
My thoughts are get the infrastructure in there because we've always talked about dig once, right? We're not going to dig up a road again unneeded. And so then I think then we can have that discussion with the purple citizens there. But it sounds like you've already had some small talk with
That's some
them.
preliminary discussions,
And
yes.
it doesn't sound like they really want to entertain that, but at least we have the infrastructure in place to then we can move forward, so.
Well, and so we have alternatives to deal with the folks there.
Correct.
The purple.
I'm
Whether
okay
it's
with that.
reimbursement or whatever. And, yeah, again, we're not deciding that tonight, but.
The rest of you?
I'm good. I like that idea, Eric.
I think the reimbursement approach makes the most sense. Just as a point of clarification, you talked about a 10-year lifespan of a reimbursement agreement. How does that work? I mean, if somebody wants to connect in 11 years,
That's why I mentioned that we'd probably renew it. So currently, we use these reimbursement agreements as a tool for developers. And normally, after the 10 years, the cost studies are probably not as accurate in terms of, you know, what it would cost them. And so we've just kind of set them out for 10 years. If you haven't developed in 10 years, then you're probably not going to get your money back. But for this particular project, what Marty and I discussed was making sure that it was on a timetable so that at the end of the 10 years, we renewed the reimbursement agreement so that we would be assured to get 100%, whether it was within that 10-year timeframe or not.
So let's just clarify, right? Tonight, we're not deciding whether it's 10 years, we're not deciding whether it's 80-30, whatever, or 80-20. We're saying, go do what you need to do to get this as part of the First East project. Then the council can take a look at working with that group of citizens and determining what the next part of that's going to be.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay. We good?
Head nod.
Okay.
Hey, thank you.
All right, review and discussion on the January 2nd city council meeting. I don't think we need to do that. Excellent.
Don't have.
Absolutely. Okay, neighborhood and staff business, you're done. Daniel?
Yeah, you guys can hear me, right? Okay, so I apologize for the tardiness, but we have a rap sheet, so you guys will have it on your table. I'll make sure we have all of this on my front counter, and I also emailed today to the guys going to put it online. So you will be receiving one of these at least once a month. I think that's enough time to update it, because projects walk a little slower than we wish. So yeah, there it is. You guys have any questions,
Thank you.
please come ask.
Wonderful.
Daniel, what's the number 21 drive-through restaurant?
Did you pick up on that?
I did see that. I'm hungry, and I'm just wondering what that is.
Which one?
Number 21.
Oh.
Is that?
Is that what part of Daniel Thomas's project?
No, it's on
No, it's on State Street.
Oh.
Sonic right there.
Is that the iceberg?
Yeah.
Oh, is it Iceberg?
No,
No, because Iceberg's up above, I thought.
right, it's where
Yeah, Sonic used to be there in front of Macy's.
Oh.
They're going to tear that down and bring it.
but they haven't told us exactly which one's gonna go right there. I mean, I think it's gonna be two of them.
So there's someone coming to the Sonic?
Yeah.
Cool.
But they're like demoing that and coming with a new concept. It's actually gonna be two
Awesome.
different
But it's not Iceberg, because Iceberg is going down by Walmart.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Someone get me a steakhouse.
Marty?
Had a great year with construction of a lot of things. We were finishing up final walkthroughs this last week. We pushed everything as far as we can go, just trying to get everything done, and we appreciate, I guess, all the funding that went into that. We got a lot of work done this last year, and in December, we're going to, for the January newsletter, I'm going to go ahead and highlight all those projects that we got done, throw a few pictures in the newsletter to kind of show what projects were done, and looking forward, we're already under design for 5 or 6 other projects right now for next year. Lot of things going forward. Obviously, a lot of development is happening, and so we are over busy. It feels sometimes. It doesn't really slow down for us. It doesn't seem anymore, so we just keep moving forward. But we do have a lot of things going, and the Walker Tank is the last one that we should be finishing up this month, and we'll move on to landscaping that site in the spring, and so there's a lot going on. But thanks for your support, and Merry Christmas, Happy
I
New
think
Year.
you deserve a clap.
Congratulations.
Both of you.
Both
have
of you.
got
Thank you.
big, huge jobs, and we're very, very grateful for them. Everybody does. We've just,
Okay, Denise? Nothing? Scott?
Just a quick expression of appreciation to Ben and Mike as elected officials. I would say the last 4 years have been really good as far as things we've got accomplished, and it's a credit to the people sitting up here, the decision makers, and also the people sitting behind me as we work as staff to get those things done. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. Tina?
Nothing.
Okay. Dion?
Nothing.
Okay. Who's back there? Dave?
nobody wants
I
to
do
talk
this
about
every time, David.
Shoveling? Nobody wants to say anything about
We're leaving that for you
shoveling?
guys to-
Okay.
Mike?
Just one last thank you for your hard work in making today a reality. It was,
Fantastic. Ben?
Yeah, I'd like to echo some of Scott's sentiments. I mean, I'll talk to you guys a little bit in a week, but wanted to thank the staff. It was an awesome day today, and great speeches all around, great comments from everyone at that meeting, and grateful for the chance to get to know people so much better. Thanks.
Lynn?
We're good.
Good. Sid?
Great day today, thank you.
Eric?
Yes. It was great today. It was a wonderful day. I think I sent an email to a few people that we have come a long way and we're moving forward, and to see this rap sheet and to see just the excitement in the room and see everything that's happening. Would like to ask a favor of Scott and staff if they could, I think Councilmember-elect Williams left, but we have Mayor-elect Fugo here, if they could bring them up to date on the road issue, road fee, and items that we've discussed, numbers, just so we're ready to go.
So we're having an orientation with our newly elected officials next week, and we'll get them update on those issues. We'll pull out the road numbers, dust them off, and get them updated on what we have there.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. I am going to talk, and I'm glad that Jane and Josh are here. Today was really special, and it was a culmination of a lot of hard work, and I know that. For a lot of people, I am going to get emotional, and I'm actually okay with it. I know it was just 4.5 years for me, but I know it's been a long time for other people on staff to have that happen today was just a perfect ending of a great month, a great year. I do love this rap sheet. I remember when it was not moving very much. Things were on here for a long time, and now things are moving. I know that as elected officials, we sacrifice a lot of time away from our families. And Josh has probably spent most of his life with his dad serving in an elected official capacity. And I know Jane as well, all of the kids. Mayor Mike, you've done a lot of things in Pleasant Grove. And, same with Ben. We may not always agree, but we've done a lot of good things. And I do know that we'll see you again. There's a Discovery Park that's going to be rediscovered. Anyway, I'm very grateful for every second and every minute that you've spent on behalf of the city. We will be having a party for the mayor in January. Just putting that out there.
I do have one question, Mayor. Do you still have your app on your phone?
What?
You had an app on your phone that told you how many days. I remember you shared that with us. And I know it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, but again, he would show that, but we knew that he was vested in our city and that he cared about our city. There's no reason why he wouldn't ran. And so again, Ben, thank you for your service to the city of Pleasant Grove. Mayor Daniels, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion that we adjourn, Mayor and Council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.